Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. I'm glad to have you all here with me today, talking some Raid, talking about the worst champions in Raid Shadow Legends. I am doing Plarium's job for them today. That's right. I'll expect my paycheck in the mail, Plarium.
I declare bankruptcy!
Not only am I going to pick out the worst legendary in every faction, I'm talking the worst of the worst, and there's some new ones, which is extra depressing here, because I thought to myself, Ash, I know you're famous for recycling content here on the YouTube channel. I mean, how many times are you going to rank everything in the game? But the truth is, the reason I do it is because they add new crappy champions or new good champions to the game all the time, so it keeps things fresh here on the channel. It keeps things rotten, I guess, is another way of looking at it in today's context. First of all, send some positive vibes, some love your way, especially if you need it out there. I have a quick TV show or documentary recommendation for you guys. If you're a Sopranos fan, which, why aren't you? Have you not seen it? If you're not, my favorite TV show of all time, HBO has a two-part documentary that I really, really enjoyed about David Chase, the creator, as well as Sopranos. And man, if you're a Sopranos fan, check it out. Very, very good on HBO Max. All right. Let's get into it here, guys. We're gonna go into it. We're gonna switch up everything today. By the way, I'm recording late night. I never do, so expect this video to be extra off the rails.
What do you mean?
Sylvan Watchers. We're gonna change up everything, and we're gonna start with the last faction. Are they ever gonna come out with this hidden faction? I think they do like one a year, right? Because since I started playing, they've only added two, Sylvan Watchers and Shadowkin. What do you think this is going to be? Like ninja robots? Ninja alien robots?
This is the place where robots meet.
What do you think? What's missing from the game in terms of like a very popular trope of a faction or a race or something like that, you know? I'm trying to think. I know there's one out there. I know they're missing something, right? But anyway, I digress. Sylvan Watchers, who is the worst? Who is the worst legendary here? It used to be Lady of Irith, but now I'm a big fan. I have an updated video on her as well. Very, very good. Man, honestly, Sylvan Watchers, they have a lot of freaking good legendaries. All of them are good except for one, maybe two. I will say that Claydna, in case you missed it, they gave her a really, really good buff, right? She has decreased speed, she has leech, and a heal there on the 3-turn cooldown, and then she has the block debuffs and a revive on death on a 3-turn cooldown as well. And then it's the ally. She's preventing damage from an ally, not just herself. In case you missed that buff, I thought they did a really good job with it, right? She's still not the best Void legendary in the game, but she's not the worst. So to actually get to the point of the damn video, it's Saoirse. It's Saoirse. Kind of underwhelming. In terms of the pick, because she's a pay-to-win champion. But I think that's what hurts even more. As a pay-to-win, dirty, disgusting whale in the game, it really sucks. Even free-to-plays will eventually get her because you get the Plarium points just on the daily logins, right? After like 150 years, you'll get her. And then you'll be disappointed as well.
I wish that would have been a secret, but you've mentioned it many, many times.
Listen, she can like solo some content if you build her in ungodly gear. She got a 4-turn HP burn. She got a chance of activation, but really just not, and there's better burners out there, frankly, you know? There's better epic burners out there, and she's the big reward you get from spending too much money in a video game, and she's very underwhelming. So I would buff her. And how would I buff her? Well, first and foremost, I would just bring that 4-turn cooldown down to a 3-turn cooldown, right? I think that's a pretty easy one. I might even bring this 6 down to a 3 when booked, you know, instead of a 4. Maybe even up the chance at an instant activation. These are all things that, actually the instant activation on the passive, my bad. But these are all things that like a Walking Tomb Drang does just so much better, you know, and the burn, at least have that on a 3-turn cooldown, in my opinion. That's how I would buff Saoirse. Let's move on to the Shadowkin. Who is the worst of the worst legendary that you never want to see coming out of a Sacred Shard or even an Ancient Shard? It's gotta be... This is so depressing to say, but I still think it's Noble. I still think it's Noble, man. They just buffed him.
Come with me.
It might be Gamoran. I'm gonna give Noble a break. I'm gonna put him, you know, in the timeout corner, and I'm gonna give it to Gamoran. Gamoran is such a cool champion. He's pretty fast. He's got a buff spread. He's got a kind of conditional revive mechanic on his passive, but this Dread Invocation, it's a lengthy, a wordy ability here, but I think what they should do is, you can read it if you want to, but I want Gamoran to be one of those champions that I think it'd be cool to have him in PvP as a PvP specialist. But basically change this entire A3 ability to, instead of doing 20% damage of enemies max, you can target a dead enemy, right? And then you do AoE damage based on their HP, right? And block revive as well. I would still like to keep it a dead enemy, right? You can still have a heal or something if you target an ally, right? Or you could add that on for extra, utility if nobody's dead, right? Either way, target a dead or living enemy. How about only dead? You block revive and you do 100% damage like a bomb. Ignore defense, pure damage based on their HP, right? And listen, it's still conditional. It sounds super strong and it is strong. But you have you have to have somebody dead first, right? So like it's so conditional that I think it makes the juice worth the squeeze on Gamoran, right? I would like to see something like that. I mean, there's other ways to fix this guy, but I want to make him like a real threat, if not dealt with, and he's certainly far from that right now. So he would be my choice there. What about you guys? Again, Noble is, it is noble, but it's not noble. It's fear and true fear. It's so much worse than stun, and it's just, there's no bosses. You can't use it against bosses. Just like very limited utility. It's like a nice to have, but if that's the highlight of your kit, it's just like, it's a Fortis, it's a noble, you know? Anyway, dwarf time. Who's the worst dwarf? Oh God, it's not even close, is it? It's not even close. With all apologies to maybe like a Samar, it's Granjar or Beauregard. Granjar, he sucks. He's a Doom Tower champion. I'm going to keep it short and sweet on him.
Just like me.
Doom Tower Secret Room champion with a 4-turn HP burn. What are you, Saoirse the Shard? Actually, you're way worse than her. 4-turn HP burn. Got a little healing mechanic on the passive. Single target. Removing any block debuffs. Come on, man. What is this? You know, Granjar is awful. He looks really cool, though. He looks really cool. He's not good, though. All right, honorable mention, maybe. I'll give an honorable to Beauregard, you know? He kind of looks cool, too. But he's got a remove a random buff and a shield. He's got the increased speed, increased resistance on the 6th turn, booked down to 4. And what are you going to do with that, you know? I kind of tried to talk myself into this guy when I pulled him. You ever do that? You ever pull a champion, you're like, yeah, they're not that bad at all. And then a month later, you never use them. That was me and Beauregard the Elder. I would love to see this go down to 3 turns. Come on. That's low-hanging fruit, Plarium. I'm doing your job for you. By the way, on Granjar, just make it a 3-turn HP burn. Come on. While you're at it, fix that A2 up a little bit, spruce it up a little bit, maybe make it an AoE, I don't know. But a 4-turn HP burn, 3-turn HP burn, it's pretty sad when Skrank and Mordecai are way better than a legendary Doom Tower champion that takes you 20 years to get, right? Knight's Revenant, that's not hyperbole, it's 20 years, I did the math. Knight's Revenant, I feel like I always pick on Narma. I always pick on Narma here. So I'll give it a break. I'll give her the Noble treatment, right? You can join Noble. You will be spared today, Narma, the return.
I don't give a rat's ass what you think about me.
Next time I'll get you. Let's talk about Bystofus. This guy, I was on Big Papa Drock's channel doing something kind of similar. We did all rarities worst champions, and you can check that video out. I love Drock, man. We had a hell of a good time on that video. And I hear you guys, a lot of requests for Drock and me to do a regular series, which I think we're thinking about, you know. I really love that guy. Anyway, I digress. Bystofus is, I have something against teal champions inside this game, as you will see when we get to the Ogryn tribe later in the video. But man, I hate this guy because he's got 2 AoEs block active skills, right? I hate this guy because he's so deceptive. 1795 base attack. That's like the 3rd highest in the entire game of Raid Shadow Legends. Maybe 1 or 2 mythicals, but Carnage comes to mind. Either way, he's a dude. This is like, it gets new players, man. It doesn't make any sense, really, you know? Because it's not intuitive that, multipliers. His multipliers suck. He does no damage. Yet he's this glass cannon with high attack. Just up the multipliers, nice and simple. Next, Dark Elves. Dark Elves, player and play? Okay, there we go. The buff I want to see the most, which is not what this video is about, is Blind Seer. Now that I got that out of the way, who's the worst? You know what? It's funny because I said Granjar earlier. I'm going to beat you guys. Some of you probably already commented, but I think I'm titling this video as something like someone you never want to see coming from a shard when you can't get them from a shard. So I will give Chromax a pass. Chromax Moonblood is probably the worst legendary in all of Raid Shadow Legends. And the reviews, for once in this damn game, are actually right. All ones. So he would be the most in need, but in terms of a champion that you can pull from a shard, I have to tell you guys, I think some of you might disagree with me as well based on previous comments, but I am not a fan of Ulten the Shell at all. At all. This guy was so underwhelming. OL is great. She's his companion champion. But this guy, man, an AoE sleep on a 4-turn cooldown, yeah, like, not exciting. Oh, if OL is on the team, he ignores 50% of the target's defense. No, I mean, resistance? Come on, man. Like, that's the secret skill with the bond? Oh, he's going to ignore. Like, they could have at least made it irresistible sleep. It's a sleep, for God's sakes. They could have at least cannot be resisted if OL is on the same team. They're like, no, you'll ignore. And I'm like, now you're talking, ignore defense, ignore resistance. Come on, man. And then he has a single target thing, right? I was so underwhelmed with his damage, right? He's very selfish. Removes divas from only this champion, heals only this champion, and he doesn't do that much damage, you know, for an attack-based champion. I was so let down by him. He could be so much cooler. What about you guys? Anybody disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Undead Horde. All right, who do we have? Undead Horde is pretty freaking stacked, I'm not gonna lie. I love Morrigan. I would love to see a buff to Saito. I know some of you guys disagree with me. You told me that video that I made about him. I would love to see a buff to Nethrel's speed while we're here. 94 speed is too low for a legendary nowadays. It's 2024 going on 2025, Plarium. Let's see a buff to that speed, please, on Nethrel. But the answer is Elagaeus. By the way, I would love to see a little buff to Harvest Jack too while we're at it, but Elagaeus. Elagaeus, I have the perfect buff for him. Wait, I didn't even give the Ulten the Shell. Ulten the Shell, up the multipliers, okay? In terms of the buff, my bad.
I wasn't listening either.
Elagaeus, rework the A3 Ghost Rage. Here's how you fix it. I shared this on the Drak collab too, but I think this is a great idea. No big deal. Pat myself on the back a little bit harder. Change this to a 3-turn cooldown, 4 down to 3 booked, right? But we need to rework this ability. This is so 2020 right now, and it's not good, right? There's epics who have better, you know, manipulation than this. It's an AoE attack. Instead of removing 2 random buffs, we are decreasing the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 3 turns. That's the Timid the Fool ability for those of you out there, right? It's polymorph proof, so we cannot be sheeped there. Now, what I want to do there after that is decrease a target's turn meter by a further 10% for each removed buff. What I want to do instead is increase this champion's turn meter for every buff that has its duration decreased. So he's going to go in there, decrease duration of buffs. He won't be sheeped, right, in the arena. And he's going to fill his turn meter likely to 100% if they have a lot of buffs, obviously. And then he'll be able to take, you know, an extra turn, kind of like an Armand's type ability, right? He'll be able to take, he's not stealing it, but he's filling his equal to the buffs, whatever, you get it. And then he goes right into his A2 and he puts the target skills on cooldown. So it's a really good 1-2 punch, and it's not like so OP that it would be game breaking or anything like that, but it'd be a really good response to the meta that is the arena, which is very buff heavy right now and very polymorph heavy. You're decreasing the duration of the buffs, you're increasing his turn meter, and he goes in after they have no buffs anymore, and you can lock somebody out with the A2. It's a really strong combo that would make him super viable, but not broken. Undead Hordes. Okay. Demon Spawn time. Who do we absolutely not want to see come out of a shard? Yeah, I didn't go for the Scarred Fusion. Sorry, guys. People hate on Vassal the Seal. I kind of like this guy. I'm like the only one, I think. An AoE with True Fear, decreased attack, and a great heal with an extra turn. Come on, what do you want from a guy? I like Vassal. I'm going to go on the record. Who else we got here? Man, actually, Demon Spawn's pretty stacked. I got to be honest with you guys. I feel like I'm missing. I guess I'll go with Lord Shazar. Doesn't feel like a very compelling bomb champion anymore, but he's still got a 1-turn bomb. You know, you got to give the guy credit. He's still got the best arena speed aura. I'm gonna go with Mortu Macabre. Poor Mortu Macabre had his day in the sun. Peril can be very annoying, but I do think that Peril should ignore Stone Skin. it still has to be activated first, right? So he still has to be attacked, but it could be a really good way to deal with like a UDK, in Stone Skin. And dealing with UDK super slow in Stone Skin is very frustrating. So I feel like Mortal Macabre, two things. Take this ability, ignore Stone Skin on Peril. It's still going to take time to get activated. It's not always going to work. It's not too strong, I don't think, is what I'm trying to say. And then Falling from Grace, just change this to a 3-turn cooldown when booked. 4-turn base. It's an AoE block buffs. It gives him instant utility in areas like Hydra Clan Boss. And hey, if they don't want to do that, then how about that speed there, Plarium? 94 on a legendary. Come on. All right, that's Demon Spawn. It's time to go Orcs. All right. If any of you guys disagree with any of these champions I'm throwing shade at, I would love to hear. I'm sure you guys will defend them already in the comments. All right. There's a lot of bad Orcs. Orcs is one of the weakest factions. I mean, they have some real good champions too, to be fair. They have a lot of bad ones too. I'm going to give it to the one guy or gal I absolutely don't want to see coming out of a shard. There's so many. But I think as sad as this is to say, I think it's still, with all apologies to everybody in this row, except for, there's a few exceptions, Grohawk, the Bloodied. The sad thing is they already buffed Grohawk not that long ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
I have done nothing wrong ever in my life.
I don't know, man. This guy is like a little bit of a souped up version of Shield Guard. For those of you who might be new to the game and don't know who Shield Guard is, well, he has the same ability, and he's an uncommon champion. An uncommon defense-based champion. Yeah, that's not good. And the same ability is on a 2-turn cooldown, not a 3. Am I right about that? Isn't it really a 2-turn cooldown? Is he that much better? Now listen, the Lord of War, the A3 of Angar, isn't it's not bad. They went and they buffed it, but it doesn't highlight or make his kit, in my opinion, right? Shield Guard is a barbarian, Ash. He's a barbarian. My bad. But I just want to make that comparison. I hope you guys don't mind. I hate to digress here, but Shield Guard has there we go. It is a 2-turn cooldown. That's kind of awkward. For an uncommon defense-based champion has a 2-turn cooldown that's the same as Angar's A2 ability, only on a 3-turn. The legendary gets a 3-turn cooldown. Sorry, I know I'm belaboring the point here, but God, I think he's the right pick, man. The Lord of War, they brought the cooldown from a 6 to a 5 on the last buff. He's attacking one enemy, he's stealing their turn meter with a weaken. If the attack is critical, because it's too strong, you have to add conditionality to it. Man, I think he's pretty bad for a legendary. He's pretty dang bad. Yeah, he's gonna be how would I buff him? Maybe we make that a 2-turn cooldown on that A2. What do you say? No, honestly, I do think that Grohawk kind of needs a rework, honestly. This Lord of War, I mean, this could be a 3-turn cooldown. It could be an AoE with turn meter steal. I think that's probably the way to go. Just change Lord of War to an AoE attack. An AoE turn meter steal sounds super strong, and it certainly is. But again, that's kind of the new norm nowadays in Raid, Do you think that would be too strong, guys? You let me know. At the very least, just turn it into an AoE weaken on a 3-turn cooldown with a big juicy decreased enemies turn meter by 50% or something like that, but I really don't like this guy's kit. Sorry, I've spent 20 minutes on Grohawk. All right, Skinwalker time, guys. Moving right along. Hello. Bezimel, you already got a buff. Get out of here. Who are we gonna give it to? Just as a side note, I like what they did with Great Hoof Loreka. I suck at saying her name, my bad. But I think they did. This was a great applauding Plarium here. I've taken a lot of shots, but I think this is a great buff, and a lot of people still sleep on it. It's an AoE decreased resistance, decreased accuracy. Fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each debuff placed by this skill. So against a wave of 5 with 2 debuffs, I'm not a mathematician, but that's 100% turn meter fill. You can go right into the A3 ability, place a block debuff and increase accuracy on all allies with a turn meter fill on all allies by 20%. I'm sorry, I'm way off the beaten path here, but man, that was a great buff. She's a really solid champion now, at least in my opinion. Listen, I would love to see a Brackus, excuse me, buff, because he's such a freaking cool champion, man. He looks a lot like, doesn't Brackus, do they use the same model? Doesn't Brackus's second form, or doesn't Brackus look like Mesamel's second form a lot? Like a real lot? Or is it just me? It's very close. Very close. It's Brackus with a bra on or something. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't it look a little bit like Nias's too?
Here we go again.
I guess all of those beasts, if you will, kind of look a little bit the same. But let's take a look. We're here now, right? All right. Nias the Shadow Thief. Oh yeah. It's all like that same kind of vibe going on a little bit. Anyway, sorry guys, that was unnecessary. But I think you got to give it to, as much as I love to see Brackus a little bit, frankly, better nowadays, because he's a really cool champion. I think it's the big pig, man. It's Norog, man. Norog, sure. Thick Skin is a cool little passive to have. It's great damage mitigation. It really is. But this is a legendary champion whose only active skill is a block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. That's it. That's it for the pig. Now that's not cool at all. At the very least, give him, I don't know, an Umbral Enchantress. Make it for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. At the very least. That's the low-hanging fruit. What I would like to see on Norog is make it 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, 100% uptime. And then I like that he's immune to CC, but you got to add immune to True Fear. And then he becomes a super reliable Hydra Clan boss champion. He will not get True Feared. Don't have to worry about Torment. Don't have to worry about buffs. Fantastic, right? That would be, to me, that would be a great buff for good old Norog. All right, it is Lizardmen time, guys. Still not that many Lizardmen champions or legendary champions compared to the other factions. Let's see. There's a lot of good ones here, but I feel like I've cried about Rossin forever. So I'm going to give it to Roxam. All right, Roxam. Guys, listen. I don't love the conditionality here. I really don't. Some of you guys tell me you love this guy. Some of you guys swear by this guy. Every time I talk a little bit, throw a little bit of shade out of Roxam, I hear from the Roxam card-carrying fan club in the comments of the video. I apologize, but to get a 4-turn AoE decreased defense and weaken with all the conditionality required, you can't talk me into that. I think Roxam, take that ability, that A3, the decreased defense and weaken, and bring it down to a 3-turn cooldown. Then you can pair him with a Veil champion on the same, if you wanted to, and you're doing a lot better. You can run him with a Loki, run him with a Erector Drath, run him with a Feral if you're lucky enough to have him, But yeah, that's how he would be a great Hydra debuffer. Even with the Veil conditionality, there's not that many champions. There's only 5 of them that have decreased defense and weaken on the same ability on a 3-turn cooldown. He could help a lot of players with that buff. All right, Ogryn Tribe. I'm sorry, with all apologies to Gerda and Yuger and whatever, it's actually Gurgo, because I hate teal champions. And he kind of has a little bit of the Bystofus vibe going on, no? Gurgo the Augur is a Void legendary champion. Void legendary champions are like 3 or 4 or 5 times more expensive than regular legendary champions. I'm not saying they have to be 3 or 4 times better than those champions, but golly, guys, Gurgo the Augur is he's the definition of power creep. First of all, super epic or rare base stats, right? 98 speed, 1400 for an attack-based nuker. 60, very squishy. Get out of here. He's got so how does he work, right? You start with the A2, you're removing 2 buffs from enemies. It's a 4-turn cooldown, but you do have an extra turn. You place freeze on enemies, okay? So not too bad. Now, granted, Gurgo the Augur was introduced to the game when nobody had an AoE stun, certainly not on a 3-turn cooldown, Like, this is before even Astralon had a 4-turn AoE stun. AoE stun was very hard to find. AoE freeze was very hard to find. When I started playing this game, I think only Shiramani had an AoE 100% freeze. So now it's not as special, right? We have AoE 3-turn stuns all over the place, and stun is better than freeze because there's no damage mitigation. So it's an AoE freeze with an extra turn. It is nice that it removes buffs too, but then he goes into Avalanche. What is Avalanche? Avalanche is a very weak hitting. It felt hard back 5 years ago, not anymore. Very weak hitting single target ability. So, I mean, it's extra hit if they have a freeze, which they usually do. So maybe a two times on a weak hit. Gurgo the Augur has been so power crept, guys. I can't get over it. I would probably change this. I think you could probably, I don't know, guys. How would you fix this damn guy? He does have a freeze. I should mention his passive, right? Which is basically what's supposed to give him the Void legendary status. 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff on the attacker for one turn if the champion has more than 20% of their max HP on one, or loses more than 20% of their max HP on one attack. Why not change this to 100% as a starting point, right? Starting point is the freeze if he gets hit passive. Okay, cool. I mean, I think that's enough probably, right? Like up the damage multipliers too. Up the damage multipliers and turn this to 100%. That's how I would buff him. I feel like he might even need more than that. You guys let me know your opinion on Gurgo the Augur. I would just never want to see that guy coming out of a Void Shard, man. I would never. I would be so disappointed. There's not much to say here in the Barbarian faction. Sure, there's a lot of bad Barbarians. There's a lot of good Barbarians. But there's nobody as bad as the red fella. Altan. Easy, easy. Any OGs out there that still play Raid Shadow Legends or let alone watch this YouTube channel? But I remember when I started playing, you know, you just remember those champions that were everybody's most wanted. For me, it was like Martyr, Valkyrie, and Altan. Like that was it. Because I knew if I had Altan, I had Clan Boss Demon Lord beat. Forget it. Game over. Sayonara. I win, but not anymore, man. This guy has a passive with a crappy revive on a random ally every time he kills an enemy. Okay. And then what is his claim to fame? A single target attack with increased defense. Man, he does have a decreased attack on his A1. Nice to have. But okay, gosh. How do you fix Altan, guys? How do you fix this dude? Oh, man. I guess maybe you give him the Vergamcar treatment. It's a little bit unorthodox, but it makes sense to me at least. Look at Vergamcar's kit and then look at Altan's kit. It's insane, right? It's just like Vergamcar has an AoE 3-turn cooldown with increased defense and decreased defense on all allies and all enemies. Like, come on, man. Or on 2 AoEs. Give him that. Give him a champion that can place an increased defense and a decreased defense on the same ability. Then you're talking something unique. Is he broken? No. Maybe you could argue he is. I don't know. But at least it would make him compelling. That's a very outside the box. Definitely probably could think of better ways to buff him, but that's what I would do on the spot. Sacred Order time. Who is the worst of the worst? Never want to see this dude coming out of a shard or gal, I should say. I just pulled Matthias, by the way, and he seemed pretty underwhelming in his kit. Triple hitter, AoE, extra hit, ignore defense, has a taunt. Why did I think he was underwhelming? It wasn't that bad. Well, I can tell you who I definitely wouldn't want to pull. In no particular order, Roshkard. Not anymore. Not anymore. Wixwell was like the final nail in the coffin of Roshkard, right? But I really wouldn't want to pull Supreme Aethel either, man. Oh, God, I really... Glycia, too. I would love to see a buff to her, really. I don't think she's quite that bad, but as bad as these two. But I think they did a pretty good job in the holstering buff. I think I would probably... Is it a tie? Can I do a tie? It's my damn video. I can do whatever I want. It's a tie. Supreme Aethel. Man, her kit reads so well. An AoE freeze on a 3-turn cooldown, ignoring strengthen and ally protect, a self-buffing ability with an extra turn mechanic. Pretty decent passive too, but man, she still doesn't, I can't get her to do any damage. It's kind of disappointing. Roshkard, I think, probably has the worst kit though out of everybody. He has block damage on a 4-turn cooldown. Listen, it was really good back in the day. It still can serve some utility. If you don't have the Helicast of the world, or I don't know, a Demitha of the world, or you're still running a very old school clan boss, sometimes it can just get the job done. But honestly, you can use like a Warcaster, or, you know, I don't know. I feel like the options are so much more plentiful, and the meta has shifted to Wixwell teams if you're lucky enough to have a Wixwell. So poor old Roshkard, I just want to see him. It's not like you can get some utility, but I kind of want to see a rework to this guy, you know? You can keep the block damage. I would add something to it, maybe a block damage and a continuous heal, or 2 continuous heals, just to give him a little bit extra viability to the team. He does have a lockout ability here. I would make this an AoE. How about an AoE, or how about you keep the A3 exactly the same, but you make this an AoE block active skills, but before attacking, reduce the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. That way you could potentially remove Stone Skin and neutralize mythical champions, you know? I don't know, maybe I'm focusing a little bit too much on PvP and some of these ideas, but just something that, you know, kind of crosses the old noggin there. High Elf time, guys. Is it still Pixneal? Is it still Pixneal? Pixneal, people are gonna hate her. They could give her 20 more buffs. She could be the best champion in the game, and people would still hate her. I just learned that you guys, some of you guys just hate Pixneal. And I get it. Look at all these books, man. Gosh, I mean, these aren't bad actually, but these are. And she has books on the passive too. That's lame. But I think they did a good job with Pixneal. Like, you can hate me if you want to, but I said it. An AoE freeze on a 4-turn cooldown, increased defense, continuous heals, weaken on enemies. I love the perfect veil on an ally with the lowest HP on the A1. I love that. And the freeze is not bad. She's immune, or the passive is not bad anymore. Again, I think they did a good job with her. She's not the best. She's not great legendary, but she's not as awful as she used to be. For me, it's the Incarnate, and frankly, it's not close. Incarnate was such a letdown to me. It's finally, Arbiter has a companion champion. Yay! This is amazing. What have they done to make an awesome companion champion next to the champion, the quintessential queen of Raid Shadow Legends, Arbiter, the first mission champion that you get? What have they done with her partner? How awesome is she? She sucks. She sucks.
They're all so jealous.
I don't know, guys. She just feels so mediocre. Back in the day, this is a really good ability, and frankly, it's still a good ability, right? Defensive measures, ally protection, and a strengthen. That is 75% damage mitigation. It's nice. It's nice. But it's like a decent progression ability, right? I feel like PvE even has shifted a bit away from like super tanky slow teams built on support like this, although I can't argue with it. Like, it's a lot of champions have it in the game, like Versolf the Grim, for example, right? But it's nice. It's a good ability. But really, I hate what they did with like her Arbiter synergy, you know? The only cool thing is if any Arbiter is about to get killed, it preempts that and puts an unkillable on her. Like, that's pretty cool. But I cannot recommend, really, anybody use her with Arbiter, right? I mean, like, unless you're in the beginning of the game just working on wave content, just like slow and steady progression, and you happen to pull an Arbiter early or something. But by the time that you get Arbiter from missions, you guys can tell me if you're wrong, because I don't want to be out of touch, you know? I was super underwhelmed, very underwhelmed with the Incarnate. What do you guys think of her? If you went with her, if you went for her, be honest. If you do disagree with me, like, where do you use her? Where do you use her with Arbiter? Do you use her? I would love to hear. But for me, super, super underwhelming, very big disappointment for me. I'd even take her I'd even take all day, like, even a Rowanus I'd take over her. Shiramani after her buff, I'd take over her. Some really good champions in this. Like, Lana Farrell is just my goat, apropos of absolutely nothing. All right, Bannerlord time, guys. Well, this is an easy one. I just wanted to end. Why am I on Lizardman? Just to look at Vergamcar. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. The video isn't long enough.
Are you serious?
AKA, it's already too long. Come on. Vergamcar. No, okay. But what? Now I'm an Ogryn tribe. What is my Plarium Play doing? Does that happen to any of you guys? You click on something in Plarium Play? It could be my PC. I don't know. Increase defense and a shield, removing a random debuff and a provoke on the A2. 3-turn cooldown. And then a 3-turn cooldown, removing a random buff from each enemy, or 2 random buffs from each enemy. I hate when they do that. Remove a random buff from each enemy. And then 100% chance of removing 2 random buffs. I guess they just do it for people to spend more skill tomes, aka more money, right? Heal reduction and a decreased defense. I love this kit, man. I love the big fella. Come here, boy. I like Virgo Car, man. I don't know why. I always have. Bannerlords, to me, even though someone even tweeted me or X'd me or whatever the hell it's called, the other day, they were like, it was a screenshot and everything. They were like, Ash, see? Adolin is good. And they had her on like a Sand Devil team or whatever. But listen, yes, I get it. She has a sleep. And she had on a 3-turn cooldown. I get it. I get that decreased speed and decreased attack are fun. Most importantly, it's cool that she ignores block debuffs. She has a heal on a 3-turn cooldown as well. She was free, which is cool. But this is, to me, this is not a legendary champion. It's a epic champion. I would love to see. I would never want to see her out of a shard. Let me just be real. Like, and if you would like to pull her out of a shard, you can let me know about it in the comments and give me a big fat thumbs down on this video. And what an apropos ending of a 10-minute too long video. Guys, hey, thank you so much to the 3 of you who are left watching. I really do appreciate it, guys. Jokes aside, those of you who tune in here on a daily basis or a weekly basis or release this video, hell, I really do appreciate you guys. You allow me to do something that I love for a living, and for that, I am truly, truly grateful from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for watching all the way till the end, and as always, take care, guys.